See no evil, hear no evil.
No,
Thank you
no,
very much.
it's at the moment it is.
God bless you. I did do it.
Okay.
Yep. Thank you.
And the home of the brave.
Game on!
Welcome to episode 26 of the Hit the Deck podcast, where we talk deck hockey, street hockey, ball hockey. It's hockey in sneakers. Yes, we have survived our giant 25th episode celebration. Oh, the hangovers were just terrible. The hedonism and bacchanalia. I've never been to such a crazy after party, James. I don't know how we crawled out of that one alive.
Please stop yelling. I can't take it.
But I kid. So, How are you, James?
I'm doing well, and in all honesty, still very impressed by what a great job you did with the episode 25 highlights. So, excellent job.
I wasn't fishing for the compliment, but I'll take it. Thank you.
That's right. Well, I think we know you by now that you're not a guy that pats himself on the back or looks for compliments. So that's why I kind of overdo it to try and give you any kind of accolades since you won't accept them yourself. So, well done.
Fine, thanks. So I should jump into the starting lineup. And for tonight's starting lineup, in goal, I am, of course, the American Rhino, number 35, Gary McComiskey, and my overly competent co-host.
On defense, number 4, I'm James Sajazi.
Indeed. Indeed you are, sir.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not saying anything that isn't true.
Thank you. I've been called much, much worse, so I appreciate that.
You got it.
Jump into on deck.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I was just basking in the glow of, I don't know, the moment, the silence. I was just enjoying a quiet moment to reflect on. I don't know. I'm going off the rails again. I'm sorry. We might as well throw it to
your competent sidekick.
What am I even doing here, James? I swear. These listeners. Yeah, God love all of you. Yes. Throw it to my competent sidekick. Sidekick, please. No, you're not my sidekick. You're my co-host. Why do I listen to you? Why do I listen to you?
We all know
who is my overly competent equal in every way in this podcast. Can you please tell me, James, what is on deck, and tell the listener as well?
Yeah, who's fishing for compliments now? But anyway, here's what's on deck. Gear Bag, the American Rhino and I review 3 very cool Brooklyn Cyclones promotional / giveaways that merged 2 of the best sports in the world into sweet-looking jerseys. And if you don't know that those sports are hockey and baseball, please listen to the 25 previous editions of Hit the Deck immediately after you listen to this one. I was there! With the great Mike Piazza being deservedly enshrined in Cooperstown and having his number 31 retired by the New York Mets, we at Hit the Deck were reminded of another great from another excellent sport who earned similar honors. The great one himself, Wayne Gretzky. Now, those tremendous accomplishments were well earned by Mr. Piazza and Mr. Gretzky, to say the very least. So for the rest of us fans that may have been in the stands for those special moments, good for you. And if you weren't there, then so what? And finally, decking around. Here's a brand new segment to join Hit the Deck's roster, where Gary and I will riff about a topic that is not about any kind of hockey, but we will eventually make it about deck hockey. And that's what's on deck.
Thank you, James.
You are very welcome, sir.
So, do they have to go out and listen to all 25 episodes right after this one? I assume they'll want to sleep at some point.
Gary is kind enough to drop the show usually Eastern time around 1-ish or sometime in the early afternoon on a Friday. So I think that should give people plenty of time, especially if you're commuting from New York and trying to get out to the Hamptons or something like that. You're going to have plenty of time to listen to 25 editions of Hit the Deck.
Yeah, I mean, let's figure I do drop it sometime in the afternoon on Friday whenever I complete it and the post-production is done. And then let's say everybody who's listening subscribes and or actually, if you've already listened to them, I suppose you don't need to listen to them again. The criteria that you mentioned were if you haven't already listened to them. So this hypothetical new listener who has enjoyed this episode and has subscribed and is eager to listen to the other ones, let's say they're listening on their evening commute around 5 o'clock. They're done with this podcast by 6. Let's say this is about an hour. I don't know how long we're going to go, but that's about, close to our average. So you start around 6. Even if we went through this last week, but even if you're looking at an average of 45 minutes, that's like, I'm not going to do the math, but I mean, you're going to be well into Saturday by the time you finish.
All right, maybe that was a bit harsh, you're right, but I'm just passionate about hockey and baseball, and I don't know. In my humble opinion, they are two of the greatest sports in the history of mankind as it is. Soccer being the third, or football, if you will, but I mean, this is a podcast about deck hockey, so
that's what I hear. Although not nearly often enough, probably, for the listener's taste.
So let's just jump right into it, shall we?
You got it. Lead me, James. Lead me. Lead me down the path. I'm holding up and shaking my hand like some kind of reverend preacher, and that's probably disrespectful to somebody, and I apologize. It's not my intention. I'm just very silly.
Well, anyway, as we said in the first topic of tonight's episode, Gear Bag, the Brooklyn Cyclones is a minor league baseball team that plays in Brooklyn, of all places.
As you might expect.
There you go. And they are the A-ball affiliate of the New York Mets. So
low A-ball, actually. Short season A-ball.
Oh, thank you, sir. So Gary and I are huge Mets fans, and I'm from Brooklyn, so I love Brooklyn, and Gary is cool enough to support our borough because we always return the favor because we need to go to Queens to where the big club is over there at Citi Field. So we are Brooklyn Cyclones fans as well. Especially it's cool to see the young players come up and eventually make it to the New York Mets and so on and so forth.
I mean, Brooklyn and Queens are all part of the same island. So, we're pretty much neighbors anyway.
True. Right. But we have to be nice to Queens. One, because, yes, that's where the Mets play. And two, you guys have the airports in the city. So if we want to go anywhere, we got to be nice to our Queens cousins and brothers and sisters. So thank you, sir.
You could always go to Newark.
As I was saying.
Yeah.
So one of the cool things about the Brooklyn Cyclones, among many, many cool things, is their promotionals, giveaways. And one thing that they started to do back in the 2013 season was give away a hockey jersey based roughly on the Cyclones' colors and schemes and such. So Gary and I thought it would be a pretty good idea to review those jerseys. They're not for sale because they are ours, and we did the work of waiting online for hours and hours to get them. But we will post, well, Gary will post pictures for you to check them out if you don't know what they already are already. But leading off is the 2013 jersey, which is a cream body, light blue accents, and it's the tie-up jersey style, which I kind of dig.
Yeah.
And for giveaways, they are very well-made jerseys, especially for a minor league giveaway, which is usually tends to be a little cheaper, if you will. Mm-hmm. But these jerseys are, and Gary is actually wearing the latest one.
Testify. I've just decided I'm your hype man for some reason. I don't know. Just carry on. I'll just keep,
Plus, it would be good to let you get a word in edgewise, too.
Edgewise!
Yeah.
Oh, I don't really know how this works.
So they are durable enough to play in, and as the American Rhino and I have tested that out,
yes.
We have played in these jerseys and even lent them to other people to play in them, particularly the Hockey at Rockies tournament. I wore my 2014 jersey, which we'll get into eventually, and Gary lent his out to a very cool guy that bailed us out last year when a couple of our players went missing, so we needed some subs. And they really held up well, the jerseys, players too. but the jerseys themselves. So the 2013 cream jersey, it's the first one of the line. And again, we have pictures of them too for you to see for yourselves. And they clean up well. They're pretty durable, and you can wear them if you're playing deck hockey or roller hockey or even ice hockey to a certain extent. I wouldn't recommend ice hockey. They probably get a little bit ripped and things like that. But we have ice skated in them and so on and so forth. So they really kudos to the Cyclones and the company that they deal with making the jerseys.
They are of a fairly light material. They're not really substantial, but for a free jersey, they're very well made.
Exactly. A great point. They are not as durable as regular NHL replica jerseys that you may have or bought, but like Gary said, they're not expected to be. But the other thing, too, is that for the adult sizes, they only come in extra large. So for us smaller, weaker folk, we can wear long sleeve shirts underneath or a sweatshirt and still be comfortable enough to move around and cheer. And speaking of one of Gary's friends, Anthony, who we have mentioned in the past on the Hit the Deck podcast, and thank you for listening, Anthony. He is an Islander fan. So me being from Brooklyn, I have gone to a couple of Islander games since they've been here. Please don't tell your wife, Gary. And as a Ranger fan, if you want to call me a coward, so be it. But I'd prefer saying it was polite that I did not wear any of my Ranger gear, especially since they weren't playing the Rangers.
No, it's a good. But did you wear Quebec Nordique gear?
I did not.
Okay.
I actually wore the 2013 cream Brooklyn Cyclones jersey.
Oh, that's how it comes together. That's right. See, I get it, because you were talking about the jersey, and then you wore it to the island. Yeah, I get it.
And people actually thought it was a cool looking jersey and asked where I got it and so on and so forth. So kudos to the Cyclones, and I love it. I'm not giving it away either. So as we said, Gary and I waited online very early to get to the ballpark, and at the sacrifice of losing our jobs to get there, but we did, and it was well worth it.
You know, considering the possibility of the Islanders very quickly vacating Brooklyn, I think you get a pass, at least just for the sake of going to see them as a special attraction.
Yeah, you're right. Speaking of Queens and Brooklyn, they may be neighbors of the New York Mets pretty soon, so we'll see.
We shall indeed. And, you know, the nice thing, as you mentioned, I am wearing one, and the reason I'm wearing it is because, well, partly because we're talking about it, and I thought it would be nice and synergistic, but the other thing is, it's summer, it's pretty warm in my place. I can't have the fan on or the air on while I'm recording because you guys don't want to listen to or droning on in the background for the whole show. So I turn all that stuff off. It's warm in here, but I want to wear my hockey gear. So I have this nice light hockey jersey that I can wear, and it's a cool hockey thing, and I'm not dying of sweat. Well, I am still sweating, but I'm sweating much less than I would be if I was wearing a normal sweater.
Exactly. That's a good point. Yeah, it's versatile too. So like I said before, if you're a smaller guy like I am or a smaller gal, you can wear a sweatshirt underneath and still be nice and warm in the wintertime. Or if you're, like Gary said, it's warm weather outside, if it's maybe 70 degrees at night or something like that, it's a perfect thing to put on, and you're not too hot and you're not too cool, but you do look really cool.
Yeah.
So it's quite versatile.
So tell us about that. We were talking about the original one, the cream and light blue jersey. Yes. Tell us about the blue jersey that you wore and I lent in our last Rockies tournament.
Yes, exactly. So obviously the first one, the cream jersey, is number 13 on the back and the front because it was in the year 2013. There you go.
Oh, you guys, you're clever, you guys. I get it.
So logically, the second one that came out the year after, the blue and yellow jersey, is number 14. And kudos to the Cyclones brass again for coming up with two awesome designs and using a little bit of the Cyclones color schemes themselves to incorporate in these really nice looking hockey jerseys. So yeah, the 2014 one, it's I guess more like a royal blue body with yellow letters, and there's a BC logo on one of the sleeves and a number 14 on the other. And then on the back is number 14.
BC for Brooklyn Cyclones, of course.
Thank you, sir. Yeah, not before Christ or whatever else you may be thinking. But, I forgot to mention that the 2013 jersey has two of those BC logos on the shoulders. So they really did a good job in coming up with great designs and incorporating what a hockey style would be, and including letting everybody know that these are Cyclones jerseys for the Brooklyn Cyclones minor league baseball team. I believe on the blue jersey, there's the actual Cyclones logo on the top left shoulder where the C would go if you're a captain, or the A for alternate captain, and so on and so forth. And that is a regular V-neck. So that was a little bit more durable, I felt, to play in, and was at actually a Rocky Sullivan's tournament when I wore that one. And then, yes, Gary was so kind to lend his out last year at last year's Hockey at Rockies tournament, and they've held up very nicely. We're playing on concrete on the street, so they get knocked around quite a bit. They are big enough, at least for my build, that I was able to comfortably keep my elbow pads on underneath and the gloves, and didn't interfere at all. It was just like wearing any other jersey, so very well made in that aspect. And for two different jerseys, they are distinct enough and cool enough that you can wear them anywhere, and you always have a great jersey to go when you need it. So same thing, it's a little bit lighter than the regular NHL replica jersey, and so on and so forth.
Yeah, I will say, though, of the first two, I definitely prefer the first one. I gotta be honest, the color scheme of the blue and yellow one, it's just, the yellow is just too loud for me. I don't know, I don't think it quite meshes exactly. And honestly, Domino's was the sponsor for the second one, and the Domino's logo is very prominent on the jersey, and it just, I don't know, it just kind of, the aesthetic doesn't really work for me. I'm glad I have it, and as James said, I've also worn the jersey from time to time. It just isn't my favorite. So just in the interest of honesty and full disclosure, I wanted to get that out there.
Absolutely fair enough. And I agree. I prefer the 2013 jersey as well, because I just like the tie-up old style, sweater style, if you will.
Yeah.
So, and yeah, it's great point that the original one does not have anything sponsored on it by anybody. So yeah, it's kind of a little silly having Domino's in the back, but it's where the Reebok logo would go until next year. I think Adidas is going to start making the NHL jerseys, but. So good point there.
Yeah, the first one looks more like a tie-up, although ironically the Domino's jersey looks more like something that Don Cherry would wear. So go figure.
So, Mr. American Rhino, if you wouldn't mind, well, before we get into the 2016 jersey,
yes.
There for some reason there wasn't one.
What color was the 2015 jersey, James?
It was non-existent.
Oh,
it's invisible, I guess. I don't know why they didn't go with one in 2015.
So nude then.
Yeah, right. The Emperor's new hockey jersey.
I guess so.
Gary and I, before every Cyclones season begins, we always try and go to at least one or two games a year over at MCU Park. And one of the deciding factors on what games we'll go to is the promotional schedule. So we always look forward to, like, Irish Night, for example, or if there's they do something called a Jersey Thursday.
Thursday, that's right.
Yeah, where they'll have replica baseball jerseys based on various different themes and such. But with the hockey one, we assumed that, hey, maybe every year there'd be a hockey jersey night. So for 2015, we were scratching our heads saying, well, what happened to the hockey jersey, especially with the Islanders playing in Brooklyn and stuff. I don't know if the NHL got wind of it or something like that, but thank God it was back for 2016. And please, Mr. Rhino Mac, lead us into that one.
Well, I can speak on the 2016 jersey strictly through James's largesse. And in fact, the only reason I'm wearing this jersey tonight is because James was kind enough to get there early, get one, and give it to me. Because by the time I was able to get to the ballpark that night, they had already given away all of the ones that they had. So I would have been... I was going to say as the kids say. I don't think the kids say this, but I would have been SOL. But the kind, competent soul that is James Sajazi gifted me his Irish jersey. So the 2016 hockey jersey was the Irish jersey. The Cyclones do an Irish jersey every year in conjunction with their Irish night. It's a green jersey of some stripe with Irish theming. And Irish Night is a very, very popular night. It's one of their most popular, if not the most popular, events that the Cyclones do every year. So the ballpark was packed. And again, they only have a limited number of giveaways. So by the time I got there, they were out of them. But again, through James's kindness, I was able to get one and keep one. And I am wearing that one, well, I was going to say for all to see, but the only one who can see it is James. Even my wife's in the next room and my daughter's asleep. You're not looking at me. You're listening to me, but I'm straying off on a tangent again. I'm sorry. The point being that it's really, I think of the three, this is easily my favorite because it's a very sharp looking jersey. It's green. It's not Kelly green. It's a little darker shade of green. It's got white striping along the bottom and the shoulders, and on the chest it says BKL Shamrock N, which, you know, for Brooklyn, but it's I can't even describe it. You'll see the picture if you go on Instagram or if you're watching this on YouTube, but it's a really nice style font. It's got a Shamrock logo on one of the shoulders or one of the sleeves and the Cyclones logo on the other. It's got a big shamrock on the back where the others would have the year and the number. This one just has a shamrock. So it's kind of timeless in that way. It's a really sharp looking jersey and I really like it. So thank you 100 times. Nay, thank you 101 times, sir, for your generosity.
Hey, it was the least I could do. That was kind of a few years in the making because speaking, as Gary definitely said, it is true that the Irish Night that the Cyclones do every year is guaranteed sellout. So they always have a special jersey for Irish Night, and you have to get there early, as Gary said. So that was just teamwork. It's something that we prepared for and at very least made sure that one of us got a jersey, which deservedly went to Gary because I'm Italian, so it wouldn't have made any sense for me to keep the jersey anyway. So at least go to a place where it should be and where it would be appreciated and deservedly should go. So no problem at all. But a couple of years ago, I learned the hard way that if we didn't get there very early, that by the time you got in, all of the Irish jerseys were gone. So there was a few years ago where I told Gary, we don't need to go there too early. We should be all right. And there was no jersey to be found. So that was kind of a personal mission to make up for my big snafu. So I just had to try and make amends.
If I could interject, it wasn't like you had your feet up eating bonbons. You were at work, and you were finishing your work before you could leave. So it wasn't really your fault.
Well, thank you. But it hurt. And you took it so well, and you didn't care, and it was kind of gnawing at me. So glad that it worked out this year.
It's fine.
Yeah, well, but now you have a great point, too, that, the Irish jersey this year is timeless. There's no number on it, so you're good to go.
Yeah. I have nothing to add. And this one is sponsored by Budweiser, which doesn't, for whatever reason, maybe the way the logos are put together or just the way the jersey is put together, it doesn't stand out nearly as jarringly as the Domino's logo. It blends a lot more seamlessly. So it's like a little crown on top of the shamrock.
Oh, that's pretty cool. Very nice.
So, you know.
Yeah, so again, kudos to the Cyclones for learning and making them awesome giveaways that people want and can use and wear. And it's a nice promotion for the Cyclones themselves. And it's a win-win. Hockey, baseball together, that's my idea of heaven. So, well done.
Yeah, well done. Good job, Brooklyn. You do you.
So, if you wouldn't mind, Gary, the American Rhino, going through your inspiration.
Wait. Yeah. I got a segue for this one.
Oh, sure.
Okay, all right. So, as James said, the jerseys are a great way to promote the Cyclones and promote the game of hockey. And a great way that we would like to promote the podcast is our very own Hit the Deck t-shirts.
It's a great looking shirt. I can't wait to get my hands on my own. And thank you for everybody who has ordered one. And thank you for making it, Gary.
Absolutely. No, please. That was nothing. But yes, I echo your sentiment. Thank you so much to everybody who's bought one already. We really appreciate the support, and we hope that you like the shirt as much as we do.
Amen to that.
Unfortunately, our t-shirt campaign has now ended, so a big thank you to everybody who participated. But if you still want a shirt, you're in luck. The fact of the matter is, if you still go to the link for the shirt and you can convince one more friend, at least one more friend, that they want that shirt too, you can still have it. So I wish you luck, and again, thank you to everybody who helped us out.
James is giving me the thumbs up. Apparently, I should have been in sales.
Well,
and my wife. Honesty. All right, I am awesome.
Yeah!
I'll have to put that in the next retrospective for the 50th.
Definitely mark that one off.
Yeah.
So moving on, while the great Mike Piazza of another sport, baseball, that we have been talking about maybe a little bit too much tonight, so I apologize for that.
Wait. I've got another one. Hang on. Really, I do this podcast out of love, and I think the shirts represent that. Really, it's an honor to be able to do this show with you, James, and it's an honor to be able to do this for you fans. And another person who was recently honored by Cooperstown was the great baseball player, best hitting catcher of all time, number 31, Mike Piazza, who
Beautiful.
Also had a jersey giveaway at Citi Field this past week. Boom!
This guy is firing on all cylinders. Well done, American Rhino. Great
I'm going to hurt myself patting myself on the back.
You should.
I should hurt myself?
No, you should not hurt yourself. You should bask in the glory of your excellent segues. So well done, man. So yeah, with Piazza being honored, deservedly so, by Cooperstown and the New York Mets, and that reminded us of the great Wayne Gretzky, who, when he retired, was so classy that he didn't even announce it until very late in the season for the NHL fans who remembered it, unlike certain baseball players that need to announce in spring training so they can have a little fairy nonsense and speaking of patting themselves on the back wherever they went for the whole year to nauseating all the opposing fans and such.
Well, James, if they don't announce in spring training, how are they going to have their farewell tour where every team throws them a little ceremony and gives them elaborate and nonsensical gifts?
If you earned it, maybe, but on a little tangent here, getting back to Major League Baseball, what would they have done for guys like Ty Cobb or Jackie Robinson or Gil Hodges or the greats of the great? I mean, you couldn't give him enough. Willie Mays, personally for me, and this is my little, let me just get up on my soapbox a little bit here.
Go ahead. You need help? You need a hand getting up there?
Nope, it's a little unsteady, but I'm
all
good.
Right, I got you. I'm right here.
Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you. If you're truly great, like Wayne Gretzky or Mike Piazza, you don't need to say that you're great, and you don't need to beg for accolades and having people saying that you're great. Because if you are great, you know it, and that's good enough, and you're humbled by it, and you're grateful for it. So that's that. But
preach.
There you go. Thank you. So let me just get
all right. Yeah. Here I got. Go ahead.
Thank you.
All right. Yeah,
all
sure.
right. Thank you. So, with all that nonsense being said, we were just thinking that for fans out there, and I don't know if anybody else has come across this, but in my lifetime as a hockey fan, baseball fan, football, so on and so forth, it's very important that fans be at the ballpark or arena and sell out the places to honor our sports heroes. But as fans, don't brag about being there because, quite frankly, who cares? It's great that the ballpark was sold out and support the player that you're honoring, but why are you trying to get any kind of accolades for paying for a ticket and sitting there for, I was there, It just, I don't get it. It's a weird thing to me for fans out there that maybe live a little bit too vicariously through their heroes or baseball teams or hockey teams or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's one thing if you happen to be talking about it and you say something like, oh, I was blessed enough to be able to witness that, or that, I really got chills. I happened to be able to get seats for that, and I really got chills watching it. Or even I was glad to have the opportunity to support the player and what have you. But it's when people look for opportunities to bring that up and look how great I am. I got to go and everybody else missed out. That's when you really run into trouble.
And as Gary always says at the end of every podcast,
don't be that guy.
There you go. That's right. So that's one of the things that he means is don't be that embarrassing fool that you're just going to make an idiot out of yourself. Okay. So the American Rhino is always trying to help us out and keep us on the right track. So we appreciate
Not always.
that.
Sometimes I'm just trying to entertain you or even entertain myself.
Which is just as great. But, and again, I mean, these players earned those honors. So we as fans sure didn't. But all we could do is overpay for a ticket, sit in the stands and watch, cheer, of course, but that's about it. And, don't brag about it, whatever. But that was just my little 2 cents there. But speaking of bragging, I just find it really cool and the great one that my sister-in-law was actually, and this doesn't count because I'm bragging for her. So my sister-in-law was there for the Great One's last game in April of '99 at MSG. And the really, really cool thing about that is she is a legitimate Ranger fan, and she had her ticket. It was the last regular season Ranger home game of that year, and she had her ticket months and months and months in advance. So to the point where we obviously didn't make the playoffs that year, and most fans knew that. So a lot of quote-unquote Ranger fans or casual fans didn't even bother to get tickets for the last home game because they figured either it was meaningless or if they would have made the playoffs, then they'll worry about going to the playoffs. But my sister-in-law bought that darn ticket months and months in advance at the beginning of the season. She held on to it, and then she was rewarded with having the hottest ticket in hockey, which love him. I think everybody loves Wayne Gretzky. At least everybody should respect him. So even if you're fans of other teams, it just so happens that he finished his career with the Rangers, took a huge pay cut, by the way. But that's just really amazing to see the greatest player, in my opinion, I think the greatest player ever in the NHL, if not, to say the very least, one of the greatest top 2, top 3, okay? And see him in that beautiful ceremony in person, that was really awesome. But again, it was my sister-in-law that went. I did not go. I did not have a ticket. So
I remember that game. I remember watching that game on TV, or at least that ceremony. I think they lost that game, actually.
They did in overtime. That's right.
But I remember that watching that on TV. That was probably, I think I've talked about this before on the podcast. I think that was my last game of my first stretch of Ranger fandom. I don't know why. When Gretzky retired, I just kind of fell away from it. But I mean, the lockout happened shortly after that, so yeah, I guess it's not that surprising. But I remember being so annoyed that Mark Messier, the only reason that Wayne Gretzky came to the Rangers in the first place, to be with one of his best friends, Mark Messier had that very year prior to that season opted to leave the Rangers for quote-unquote greener pastures, if you know what I mean, in Vancouver. And so he wasn't there when Gretzky retired. The whole reason why Gretzky came to the Rangers in the first place. It felt like such a slap in the face to the man. And I wasn't nearly the hockey fan then that I am now. So even just feeling that way then, I can't imagine how I'd feel now. But it's just that it's amazing how so many years later, how vivid that still is to me. And it really is cool that your sister-in-law was there. And, it was also cool that your sister-in-law was at Citi Field this past Saturday to say goodbye, or at least say thank you, for the number retirement of the greatest hitting catcher of all time, number 31, Mike Piazza. Boom! Boom, 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 boom! Boom! I would drop the mic, but I don't want to... Well, it's in a stand, first of all. And second of all, I wouldn't want to break it because then I would have nothing to use for the remainder of the podcast.
That's right. And just following Mr. Rhino Mac's lead, yes, my sister-in-law was there along with Gary himself, and I was there too, and some of my family. And so we were there in person. We saw it happen. So na-na-na-na-na-na. Yeah, we couldn't help that one. Just to emphasize the how nonsensical that is to brag about having nothing to do with anything. So we were there. Yay. It's appropriate that Skeletor would rub it in. So thank you, sir. So.
He definitely would.
Absolutely. But yeah, cool stuff. Then summing things up for this evening's 26th edition of Hit the Deck, a new segment that Gary brilliantly came up with, which I just love the topic title called
Again, you
Decking
don't have
Around.
to credit me with every single thing that I come up with. We have an equal share in this podcast.
True, and I don't know why I sounded like Mickey Mouse there, but yeah, it's a cool title, and I would have never have thought of that in my gosh, and if you gave me a million years. So, but the point of this segment is to just kind of talk about a topic that it's not a little bit different than the bandwagon, where it's a topic that everybody's talking about and we kind of weigh in on. This is a little bit different. So the topic for this evening is Pokemon Go.
Yeah, and again, since I spoke over James before, the topic is called Decking Around.
Get it? Right?
I'm sure they do.
Okay, good.
Because we're very clever.
I think so. But the Pokemon Go nonsense, I'm not a fan of this. I don't get it. When Gary and I were in college, that was when the first wave of Pokemon really took over America. It's great in Japan or wherever in Asian countries, and they love it and whatever. So I don't understand it. It's totally alien to me. But with this Pokemon Go, it kind of goes hand in hand with the demise of mankind, in my humble opinion.
No hyperbole there.
Yeah, everybody is just so obsessed with a cell phone, his or her cell phone, way too much. And as big as the world is, we just have a habit of, God bless technology, it's great, but we just have a habit of making the world a lot smaller. And but again, I apologize for my 2 cents, but there are various news reports about people literally severely getting hurt playing this silly game, where they're actually getting hit by traffic, they're falling in ditches, they're getting in fights, etc., etc. It's insane. And there was a story that came out in USA Today about, with the Olympics coming up tomorrow, or tonight, I should say, when you listen to this podcast, that there was, I believe he's a Japanese gymnast, and his friends convinced him to play the stupid app. So he was in Brazil at the time, and he got hooked on it, and he came up with a roaming charge of nearly $5,000. Yeah, playing this game. So, which really blows my mind, because these are the greatest athletes in the world, and they literally devote their entire lives for the Olympics. So how this man had any kind of downtime is beyond me, so I guess he just didn't sleep.
I would think that would give him an edge in being able to catch them all. I mean, being such a great athlete.
True, very true. And if I read the article correctly, I think they said that they didn't even have Pokemon Go running around, or fakely running around in Brazil or whatever. Yeah. So I don't even think he was able to catch any. But
yeah, I don't know. It hasn't been rolled out in every country. I do know that, actually, my sister told me this because she plays it. But apparently there are situations where people are able to use like GPS spoofing to catch Pokemon and claim gyms and such, which is the thing you do in the app. Basically play the game from the comfort of their own home, but like do this stuff in other countries. So they could be like, the I don't know the terminology, but the head Pokemon champ, whatever, of Brazil from their living room in, New Jersey, say, when the game's not even available in Brazil. And when it does roll out, then the people who actually live in that country are going to be at a severe disadvantage who are playing that game. So, that's food for thought, I guess. And for the record, I just want to say this is actually one of the rare things that James and I aren't in total lockstep on. I don't think it's quite as big a deal as James seems to, although he's entitled to his opinion. I do not begrudge you that, but I will say I've never been a Pokemon fan. I remember when growing up, my sister watched it, the cartoon on TV, and I was like, why are you watching this? I don't Why is this on? I don't want to watch this. And my mom got the games, and I never saw the appeal of Pokemon. I think I tried playing for the first game for a little while, and I just never was able to get into it. It never appealed to me. But for some people, it's crazy popular.
Yeah.
I have a coworker, the guy who sits next to me in the cubicle next to me, actually, and I remember the first couple of days after it was rolled out, someone else was saying, "Oh, you're gonna get it? You're gonna download it?" He's like, "No, I'm not. I know myself. If I download it, I'm never gonna stop playing it. I'm gonna just wait until it dies down, and then hopefully I won't be tempted anymore." That was like Friday. Come Monday morning, so I caught this, and that. It's like, oh, dude, come on.
Yeah.
Not even a weekend. But it is crazy though how this thing has exploded. And the real kicker is Nintendo didn't even want to get into mobile games. The only reason that they decided to get into the mobile smartphone market in the first place was because the Nintendo Wii U system didn't sell nearly as well as they had hoped. So to kind of save face and to, I don't know if it's their stock price or their I don't know what financial straits they were specifically in, but to kind of recoup some of their losses, they decided very reluctantly that they had to jump into this market, and it's really exploded for them. Like the first day, their stock jumped 22%, and then it's just gone up from there. It's insane.
Wow. And yeah, it's worldwide too. It's not just here or there. It's the entire world. But the cool thing for that Olympian was, since he is famous.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't realize I was interrupting your story.
No, you weren't interrupting at all. Not at all. Just wanted to put a cap on that. Is if anybody's listening out there that didn't know the story, is that the carrier got him off the hook. He wasn't, I guess because of his celebrity, he didn't have to pay the $5,000 fee. So they just knocked it down to $30 a day for the roaming charge or something. So it was considerably less than what he would have been on the hook for.
I wonder if that athlete plays Mario and Sonic at the Olympics or whatever that game's called.
Maybe.
Which Nintendo also released for the Wii, I guess, or Wii U.
Right.
Probably not.
I don't know. But I think he'd be practicing and whatever. But just one really honest thing. There was one story two honest things, I should say. There was one story that I actually heard on the Howard Stern show, and Robin Quivers, who is Howard's sidekick, is notorious for reporting false news items, and this was another one of them, was that there was a story that falsely said a brother murdered his other brother because he thought that he erased the Pokemon Go app. And that was a hoax. That didn't happen. So just let everybody else know out there, if you heard that story or not, it was not true. And on the serious note, there was a report in the news lately that predators have actually hacked the app and have tried to lure children into traps with it. So just parents out there, please be diligent, be careful of that, and make sure you know where your children are at all times and what they're up to, because that is serious, crazy stuff. So just let you know out there in case you haven't heard that.
On the plus side of the Pokemon Go equation, it has gotten people to exercise a lot more, which is usually something that video games hinder instead of help. Just somebody in the LIQ, Rob, apparently, he's not much of an athlete beyond playing deck hockey with us, but I understand last week he walked 9 miles around Manhattan trying to catch Pokemon. So good for Rob.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, great. So it's good when we disagree on things. So now you get the counterpoint stuff. So nice. But the bottom line is, as we did say, that the point of decking around is that we will eventually get to deck hockey. So the moral of this story is that's great that people are actually exercising a little bit more with this app. But instead of playing it and getting crazy and getting hurt, just go outside and play deck hockey instead. Okay? Thank you.
Last minute remaining in the podcast.
Thank you, James, for that insightful segment on Pokemon Go and for that sound advice, which I couldn't agree with more. Thank you, James. Thank you, the listener, for listening to us, to our 26th episode and hopefully the 25 before that. And if you somehow missed it, we dropped a scrimmage this week, which you might find entertaining about jerseys versus shirts and which is the better option for playing deck hockey in. So if you haven't heard it, seek that out. Thank you to Anthony Sajazi for contributing music. Thank you to the LIQ for contributing sound effects. Thank you to Pops for being the voice of the podcast. And if you would like to contribute to the podcast, please email us at hitthedeck@gmail.com. Drop us a line on Twitter at hitthedeckpod, Instagram, Facebook. We are at Hit the Deck, and we are the Hit the Deck channel on YouTube. Subscribe on Stitcher and iTunes. Check us out other places. I don't know. I give you guys too much information as it is. I'm sorry. Just thank you for listening. Please continue to do so. James, have I forgotten anything?
No, not at all. I mean, Abe Lincoln would be proud of you for the amount of stuff that you remember and get out there. So well done.
407 podcasts ago. Actually, we haven't made it that far yet. Oh, that poor man. He was a great president.
Wonderful. Really, probably the best, if you ask me.
All right. Well, since a podcast divided against itself cannot stand, I've butchered this metaphor. I apologize. So don't be like me. Don't. I implore you, when you're out there playing deck hockey or anything else really, please remember, don't be that guy. Thanks, everybody. You are the guy who prepares for